to Zirkzank says, I may have been a little immature to gloat and mock the Remain voters. I do understand that many of them are legitimately scared because they've been lied to by the media to think that this will cause World War III. That's a genuine threat that's been made, but you need to stop crying and start trying to make a positive impact. This applies to both Remain voters and to the Leave voters. Now the decision has been made and it's time to live with it and start looking at the real options and things you can do to make the country better and in turn make your life better. The lives of all your friends and family better, because people need to start looking into what the European Union is and why we're glad to be rid of it. Don't look at it on news websites, look at it on Wikipedia and independent YouTubers. Do research away from the news, because you need to look at sources that are verified by real people and sources that are not controlled by the government. The media is controlled by the people who have so much money and power and they don't want to lose it. You need to look at facts from places where facts are more important than persuasive bullshit. Just look at facts and make your own decisions. I think if you do that, you'll realise, hang on a second, the EU does seem a little bit sketchy. And for us to actually make Britain great again, which I think most people do want, even if you think that Great Britain's great already, or, that's nationalist racism or whatever. No, I'd say everyone in every country deserves the right to want their country to be better. If you can improve your country, why would you not? It makes sense. Like, I want the country that I live in to be better. There's nothing wrong with wanting a better life for yourself, wanting a better life for everyone around you. It's simple. Just snap out of the crybaby attitude. Start appreciating how much of an incredible opportunity this is to rebuild and repair the country. We're no longer being shackled by the limitations and regulations of the European Union. Well, I say that, but there are still up to 2 years of negotiations left. But assuming that we do get to become free from the shackles of the EU, then we'll be free to start making things right again. It won't be easy, but it'll be worth it. It's a fight that we need to fight. It's good to start planning now and start looking into what kind of changes that you can make to your community, look at what kind of changes you can make to your life, and start trying to vote on things to make a difference. Start petitioning for things that are genuinely important. Stop trying to get a second referendum. Start trying to petition for the things that will improve the country. Staying the same way that things are by petitioning to remain in the EU, remaining to be part of a corrupt system, is not good. Start using that energy somewhere else. Instead of throwing a tantrum, go do some research. Be productive, make things, learn things. You owe it to yourself to be well informed. You owe it to yourself to get some experience, to be productive, and look at both sides of the argument. Look at the pros and the cons. So far, you've only been told the cons of leaving and why it's such a bad thing. Go look at the pros. Look at why this is a good thing. Look at how we can become a more productive country, and look at how the people can have more control over the decisions that are made by their government. Why that wasn't possible in the European Union. Go and look at it. We've opened the doors for many more amazing trade deals that would have been possible if we remained. Now, the EU had control over who the member states would trade with. Basically, they just had to get to say no, yes, no, and they had all these strict regulations which basically made it impossible. Now that we're free from that, we can make a trade deal with the European Union. We can make trade deals with the rest of the world as well. So now, instead of being limited to what the EU tells us and who the EU tells us we can trade with, we can trade with any country. So, that's better. That's really good. And that would have been possible if we remained. we can change our own laws and govern our own regulations on products and services. So the EU had loads of control over regulations on products and services, and it made it impossible for new companies to start up, and it made it really difficult for it made it basically so that companies wouldn't have to be competitive. Now what's going to happen is that every service and product has to be competitive, meaning that the product itself has to be of high quality and it has to be cheaper, or both, in order to compete with other products that do the same thing. Or, products in the same market will have to be significantly better and cheaper for somebody to buy it, as opposed to that company just having to meet regulations and then send it out at a standardized price, and then everyone just being willing to buy that. It's like the only option is you have to buy this product because that's all that's available and it's at that price. When there's actual competition, that's fucking amazing. When this starts, you're gonna start seeing how the products just fucking wait and see. But if you don't trust me, just trust me. We'll do some research, like I said. And yeah, here's one of the biggest topics that I have to mention here: the immigration policy. Well, as a member of the European Union, member states have to allow for any EU citizen to work pretty much anywhere they want in the European Union. And for the UK, that's pretty bad because, it's such a good country. It's probably the best country, one of the best countries in the European Union, just because of the language. It's a wealthy country and it's English speaking. It's like the ideal kind of place to go for anyone who comes from a poorer EU country. They think, well, look over there, that's England. I can speak a bit of English, maybe, and they give away money to people who don't work. The houses are nice, the roads are nice, and that sort of thing. I don't know. The roads aren't that nice, some of them, but the point is, it's a rich country and it's a safer country. It's a better country than the one that they come from. So it makes absolute sense to go to the UK. But when you have too many people coming in, and there are too many people coming in, it's not racist to say that. It's not racist. It's a fact. It doesn't matter who's coming in. When there's too many of them, that's a problem. There are much less people leaving than there are going, which is another thing that I'm saying about the EU. Like, most people in England, Britain, UK, whatever, fucking, they don't want to go and work in Syria. They don't want to go over to people who live in the UK and are born in the UK usually are not too interested in going over to one of these poor European Union countries, having to learn their language, and then getting a job there, earning less money than they would in the UK. And it's a sensible thing to want more money. I can understand that, and I support that. Nobody wants to go over there, but they want to come here. So what that means for us is now that that we can control. Well, we're going to be able to control that soon, to basically make it so that let me get back to the script I made here, because it makes sense. Even the welfare here is higher than some of the full-time jobs in those people's home countries, so it attracts all immigrants, good ones and bad ones. So what I was trying to say here is that there are bad immigrants, which is not an issue of race. It's nothing to do with race. It's the fact that not everyone who immigrates here is a hard-working, law-abiding citizen who's willing to integrate and become part of the British society. And we can't stop criminal-minded people, and we can't stop lazy, unskilled benefit seekers or untrained workers. We can't stop them from coming, but we need to, because what that does is it takes away jobs from people. They took our jobs. Well, that is a real thing. It's not racism, and it's not the fact that you can't just say, oh, you need to go get a university education, or you need to get off your lazy ass and go get a job. Literally, there's just too much competition for the low-skilled jobs, and these people can't do there are a lot of people who can't do higher skilled jobs, just because they don't have that education, and it's not up to them whether they can get the education or not. They didn't make that decision, so it's really not nice for the people in power and the upper class. I don't want to use classism as an excuse, but it does seem to be people who have got money. Just they're the ones who are saying like, well, yeah, you just get a job. No, it's not that easy for some people to get a job when they don't have any skills. That if they have the same skills as just about anyone else, then the only way they can get a job is if there are more jobs available than there are people available to do the jobs. So that's why that's an issue. If you didn't see why that was an issue. Back to this. But in every other country, every other big successful country, they have their special requirements list of things that you need to meet. You need to meet checklist requirements to immigrate to their country. And the things that they put on these lists usually include being able to speak the language fluently, having at least a degree level of education, having an understanding of the laws and regulations of the country, understanding the culture and willing to be part of it, and so on. But in the European Union, like I said, none of that matters. Anyone is free to just come from any country. There is no checklist. You just go from one country to another and work there. Simple. It's too easy. That's what I'm trying to say. It's too easy. Being a EU citizen is the only requirement, and you're welcome to come in. But that means that we have an massive influx of unnecessary people who are coming in here. They take up resources and they take up jobs. They do take up resources, as in, taking houses, taking up healthcare, taking up space on the roads, taking up oxygen, taking up that was a joke because I always complain about lack of air. They take up they drain money from the country that should be going towards the citizens who live in the country already, should be going towards making the roads better, should be going towards making the country safer, should be going towards national parks. It should be going towards public transport. It should be going towards things that make the country better, as opposed to just making those individual people's lives better. It should be making the country better for the people who live there, not making it better for the people who want to come over and live there. But so going back to this, immigration is a good thing. It is a good thing, but only if the people who immigrate are all model citizens, as in hard-working people who are willing to integrate, people who love the country that they're moving to, and not everyone who moves here is hard-working, and a lot of them don't want to integrate, and some of them don't even speak English at all. Now, coming here and not speaking English, I'd consider that to be somebody who isn't really, if they come here and they can't speak any English or very little English, I just think that maybe that moving here wasn't a good decision for them, or maybe they're not here to become an English citizen. If they are and they want to learn English and they're actively trying to improve their English and integrate, then that's good. But I need to go back to this and say that they need to They need to be able to offer something to the country that is worth having in the country. They need to bring a positive change to the society that you want to be a part of. You can't just go to another country and start treating it like your own, because if you want to do that, there's no point in doing that. Just stay in the place that you enjoy. If you enjoy the culture and the language and the society that you were born in and raised in, then, stay and be part of that. If you want to go see what it's like in another country, go take a holiday there, whatever, but don't go there and then start trying to demand things to be the way they are in your own country. It sounds like a racist thing to say to somebody, go back to your own country, but that has nothing to do with race. That has to do with the person who doesn't like being in England, or the person who doesn't like living here and the way that we do things here, complaining about it, saying that it should be like the way they do it in their country. It's like, well, why don't you go back there? Or why don't you go to that? And it's obvious, like I said before, it's to do with money. And I can't blame anyone for wanting a wealthier lifestyle. It does make sense. But, what I said here as well, saying that you can't just go to another country and start treating it like your own. Well, that sounds pretty rich coming from a British guy, considering the fact that at some point we owned 25% of the world, and we had a phrase that was, the sun never sets on the British Empire. Well, we need to acknowledge the fact that Western culture is by far the best thing for the world. And if you disagree with me, you're welcome to go and try and go to the Middle East, join Islam, you're free to go and leave the Western world. And to criticize me as an individual as for being a Brit, bear in mind that I'm 21 years old and I didn't take part in any of the conquering. Maybe I'm a result of it to some extent. I'm a result of it, like my great-great-great-great-great-grandparents. They were part of the people who invaded the rest of the world, but that decision was based on what their kings and queens said. Go here and kill these people, take that country to be your own. It wasn't really a choice I was part of. And let's be honest, that doesn't happen these days. We don't go around trying to colonize and trying to capture countries. So please disregard that. And so saying that you don't like Western culture, I'm saying if you really don't think that it's good to be here, you can go and join a country that kills homosexuals, that enslaves women, and that punishes free thought, and that takes away all of your freedom of speech. Go try living in a country like that, with poverty, where you have no rights at all, and go and just leave this capitalist democracy that is just so terrible. Go and do that. Go and join one of these diverse cultures that you enjoy so much, or could just stay in the first world, be part of the future of humanity instead of trying to bring it down. The human spirit is all about survival, freedom, and controlling your own destiny. So don't even think about trying to embrace a culture that seeks to take that away from you. I find that disgusting that such things even exist. I don't want to say it, but if you want to say that Islamophobia is a real thing, then I'll take you up on that and say that it's a phobia, as in a fear of Islam. Like, well, if I want to say I'm Islamophobic, then sure, I'm afraid of a belief system that brainwashes its members into fanatical psychopaths and encourages extremely unfair treatments of women, gays, and actively encourages members to destroy the West. tells them that non-believers are sinners and that we need to be punished for it. The infidels need to be liberated in the name of Allah. Well, I don't believe in Allah, and I don't really want to follow the Quran, so that makes me kind of afraid of Islam, because I'm basically a target of it. And being a target of something that wants to kill you it's instinct. You're afraid of it instinctively because you don't want to die. It's human nature. That's the nature of all animals that are alive. They don't want to be killed by something. So, yeah, I'm afraid because I don't want to be killed by them. And I'm afraid because the Islamic State is gaining more and more power, so eventually it could actually end up killing us, destroying the West, killing all the non-believers. But taking a step to control our borders in the UK means that we still have a chance to survive. We don't have to be killed by these violent people who are genuinely psychopathic racists, and they've been brainwashed. I'd say that it's not the fault of a child who is born into that, raised to believe that, and then follows what everyone around them is following and does what everyone around them is doing. Humans are social creatures. I'm not blaming it on the kids who grow up and then do this thing. It's not their fault that they can't see the bigger picture, or that they can't understand what they're doing. They don't realize what they're doing is perhaps not very cool. Going around doing these things because they've been told it over and over again and positively reinforced to think that killing gays is okay, enslaving women and treating women badly is okay, raping people is okay, raping children, raping women. It's just, I don't want that to be part of the United Kingdom, the place where I live. I don't want that to be part of the world anywhere. But, that's basically saying that I support genocide, like killing all Muslims. But I don't support that. What I support is that this idea, their ideology, is taken apart and updated, because there are some really good teachings in the Quran. There's some really good teachings in all religious texts, but they need to be updated. They need to become, a little bit more modern and in line with the rest of the world. You can update the Quran, you can update the Bible, you can update and you can pick and choose, and you can basically make a religion that's just right for you. Make a religion that's right and that works. Don't make one that's so contradictory with modern life. It's never going to work out for you. You think it will, but it won't. So that's basically what I have to say on this. I know this was kind of long-winded, and there's still a lot of things that I've not addressed, but it's a huge topic, and the way I speak makes it hard for me to address anything, because I keep going from one thing to another, and I speak quite slowly as well. But let me tell you, it's a lot of stuff to think about, and it really does deserve that extra thought. If you don't already think about these things, try thinking about these things. Don't be afraid to think about them. Just allow yourself to consider every possibility and open your mind to what may or may not be true, because it's important to try and stick to logic and reason and facts. It's nice to enjoy some stories and to relax and have fun once in a while, but you need to stay focused on the truth and stay focused on reality, and try not to let other people control your mind, because your mind is yours. You need to decide that. Even what I'm saying, I'm trying to persuade you to do something, other people are trying to persuade you to do something else. Look at what both of us are saying, and then do your own research into the actual facts, and then make your own mind up. You can't go wrong that way. You can't go wrong.